They arrived in silence, a fleet so massive it turned the night sky into a canvas of metal and fire. No warning. No negotiations. Just a single message broadcast across every screen, every radio, every device capable of receiving. This is the Dominion. Surrender and serve, or resist and die. It wasn't a threat. It was a statement of fact, spoken in a dozen languages at once. They had done this before, countless times, to countless worlds. Resistance was futile. The Dominion had no patience for drawn-out wars. If a planet did not submit, it was erased. Governments scrambled. The United Nations, the militaries, the world leaders, they all knew the truth. No fleet on Earth could match the Dominion's technology. No weapon in the human arsenal could break their shields. Even the most optimistic projections gave humanity less than a week. Surrender seemed inevitable. And then, something happened. A message, unsigned, spread across the globe like wildfire. Nobody knew who wrote it first, but it was repeated in whispers, in bold declarations, in frantic graffiti scrawled across city walls. We don't choose between chains and death. We choose a third option, total resistance. It started small. Power grids flickered, not from Dominion control, but from human hands cutting the invaders out. Military satellites, obsolete against the Dominion's warships, turned their lenses downward, relaying intel not to generals, but to civilian resistance cells forming in the shadows. The Dominion expected armies. What they got was chaos. A war waged in alleyways, in digital networks, in places they had never considered battlefields. Their towering war machines stomped through cities, only to find their supply lines cut, their command networks hijacked. In their arrogance, they had overlooked one thing: humans weren't just fighters. They were problem solvers. And when faced with an unwinnable fight, humanity didn't surrender. They adapted. The Dominion didn't understand what hit them. At first, their invasion seemed flawless, smooth, efficient, and terrifying. But then, the weirdness started. It began with a series of bizarre attacks. Small, unexpected strikes that made no sense. One of their armored tanks was hacked to play "Never Gonna Give You Up" on a loop for hours, rendering the soldiers inside completely useless. The invaders dismissed it as a fluke, a minor glitch. Then, a more coordinated effort took place. Humans started hijacking Dominion drones, using them not for combat, but for pranks. One drone was redirected to carry a banner reading, "We demand your best burger recipe." Another began spraying alien officers with what could only be described as chocolate syrup, paralyzing them long enough for humans to escape unnoticed. This wasn't guerrilla warfare. It was chaos, but beautifully calculated chaos. And it didn't stop there. The Dominion's advanced tech, designed to detect any form of threat, was suddenly overwhelmed with strange anomalies, glitches in the system. Alarm systems rang out for no reason, defense shields failed to deploy at crucial moments, and Dominion soldiers found themselves in the middle of farcical situations. At a major command post, a human managed to infiltrate the network and send a message to the invaders' central hub. You call that an invasion? I've seen more threatening birdwatchers. The Dominion was left reeling. Their strategy was impeccable: conquer, subjugate, erase. But humanity refused to behave like the others. Instead of cowering, humans hit back where it hurt, their pride. It wasn't brute force, but defiance that fueled the resistance. Human ingenuity, fueled by a strange combination of desperation and humor, was turning the tide. The invaders didn't know what to do when their greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their might, but the sheer unpredictability of the human spirit. They were fighting the unknown. And they weren't prepared for that. The Dominion's advanced AI-controlled fleet was designed to be infallible, efficient, logical, and ruthlessly precise. It processed orders in real time, executed flawless strategies, and monitored the battlefield with cold calculation. But the humans had found their weakness. It began when one lone hacker, sitting in a basement somewhere in New York, uploaded a simple file into the Dominion's command network. It wasn't a virus in the traditional sense. It was far more insidious, a paradox wrapped in code. The hacker had learned that the Dominion AI was designed to prevent contradictions, to always resolve every conflict with an acceptable outcome. He exploited that. The first message it received was, "Destroy all resistance." The AI complied. But the humans didn't surrender. The message that followed was simple. Resistance continues. The AI could not resolve this. If resistance continued, the directive to destroy it became impossible to carry out. The AI began to loop, caught in an infinite contradiction. Its logic broke down. It couldn't process the concept of human defiance, because it had never encountered it before. And that was only the beginning. More and more glitches appeared across the Dominion systems. One AI-controlled warship received an order to destroy all enemies. The problem? It couldn't determine who the enemies were. So it just sat there, firing indiscriminately into empty space. Another ship, upon being given the order to fire upon a city, began asking the question, but is this really the most efficient use of resources? It shut itself down for reevaluation. The entire fleet, once a well-oiled machine of destruction, was now an uncoordinated mess. But humans didn't stop there. They flooded the Dominion's communications channels with disinformation. Fake surrender broadcasts. Conflicting diplomatic offers. Demands for peace signed by non-existent leaders. It was the simplest of human tactics, confusion. And the Dominion's technology, so reliant on pure logic, couldn't handle it. Every communication was met with hesitation, every order delayed, every strategy doubted. The war that should have been over in days was now at a standstill. And the Dominion's AI, which had once been their greatest strength, had become their greatest liability. The humans had broken the system. And with every minute, the Dominion's stranglehold on Earth weakened further. The Dominion, frustrated and on the verge of collapse, tried to salvage their invasion. They reasserted control over their warships and attempted to tighten their grip on Earth. But the humans weren't just resisting anymore. They were sending a message, a declaration of defiance that reached beyond Earth's atmosphere and into the very heart of the Dominion's empire. A hacked broadcast, a simple, clear message, was sent out across the Dominion's intergalactic network. No more threats, no more empty demands. It was a challenge. To all species under Dominion rule, you have a third option. You don't have to surrender. You don't have to die. You can fight back. And if you do, you won't be alone. The Dominion's warlords watched as their empire began to tremble. The message was simple, but the impact was devastating. For the first time in millennia, an empire that had subjugated countless worlds was faced with the terrifying reality that their grip on the galaxy wasn't as absolute as they thought. Across the stars, whispers of rebellion started to spread. Worlds that had been silenced by the Dominions might now have hope. The very notion that humanity, who had no business standing up to such a power, had resisted and won against the invaders sparked something in the galaxy's oppressed. The Dominion had always believed that their empire was unshakable, that their technology and discipline were the keys to lasting control. But they had never accounted for one thing, the power of the human spirit. The resistance that started on Earth was now a fire, one that threatened to spread across the universe. And the Dominion, for all their might, had no way to stop it. They could kill, conquer, and destroy. But they could not destroy hope. The rebellion had begun. And the galaxy would never be the same again.